The prospect of Real Housewives of Potomac star Karen Huger going to jail has just increased as prosecutors are asking for jail time. There's some really interesting information coming from the prosecutor breaking down multiple offenses that we may not have previously been aware of. They've given their sentencing recommendation to the judge that I want to get into with you. And there's also a little bit of information that they are mentioning regarding that rehab stint that she was participating in very recently. Now, Karen's attorney has, of course, responded. So I have their response here that we're going to go into. Welcome to Conversation Comes Easy. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Now, let's jump into everything that we know about Miss Karen Huger. Now, we met Karen when the show premiered, Real Housewives of Potomac. She's an original cast member. So we would have met Karen in 2016. Now, she's been dubbed the Grande Dame of Potomac by, of course, none other than her castmate, Giselle. Now, while I wouldn't say that Karen is a fan favorite per se, I would say that she has a pretty good and solid reputation on the show. She definitely brings an energy to the show where she definitely can go back and forth with just about anybody. She doesn't necessarily come off as malicious as some other cast members have in the past. And I would say that she always has a kind of a motherly presence on the show. Good or bad, I would say that Karen is 100% a staple. Now, being on the show for as long as she has, there's always been persistent rumors on the show about Karen and her drinking. To the point where when this all happened, and this would have been last year when this happened, last year in around March is when she was arrested, a lot of people echoed in the chorus saying that they were not surprised, including previous cast member Robin Dixon, kind of saying it's kind of par for the course based on the Karen that they know, not necessarily the Karen that we know from the show. Now, up until the most recent season, in the most recent season of The Real Housewives of Potomac, there was a very continuous message that Karen was echoing consistently, and it was about vindication. Many of the cast members tried to get her to talk about that evening, what actually happened that night in March in 2024, to get a little bit of information out of her, but she was definitely mum, not willing to give a whole lot, and kept on saying that she was looking for that vindication. Now, that vindication was nowhere to be found, you guys, because whilst in the show kind of premiering, they've just now starting premiering the reunion. That is when that body cam footage came out. Now, we talked about this extensively on my TikTok. Make sure you follow me there. And of course, subscribe here to my YouTube as well. But that body cam footage was 100%. It was very clear that Karen was under the influence. Now, I played some of that footage, but Karen is, slurring her words. Karen is having difficulty communicating clearly. She's having difficulty standing. And this was all after seemingly a night out. Now, thank goodness in that particular instance, nobody was hurt. She did damage her vehicle. But the bigger issue that's looming here is not only could Karen have obviously hurt herself, she certainly could have impacted an innocent person literally just on their way home or going anywhere and had nothing to do with her choices. Especially now when we know there's access to ride shares and different options so that you do not have to get behind the wheel while impaired. Now, that's what we know so far. Now, as a reminder, you guys, sentencing is coming up for Karen actually this week. We can expect to hear what her fate is going to be on Wednesday, February the 26th. Now, ahead of that sentencing, prosecutors have submitted a recommendation to the court. I'm going to go into those details with you now. Now, Karen's guilty verdict came down December of 2024. Now, we were originally supposed to know about her sentencing, remember, on January the 29th. She requested the sentencing date be moved because she had removed her legal team and had hired new attorneys and they needed time to prepare. So now that date is just upon us. So let's go into what the prosecutors are actually saying regarding the sentencing. Now, they've brought a few pieces of information to the forefront that we just did not know before. Now, one of the things that they have mentioned is this: Karen, who is 61. Now, they are saying that she should actually serve jail time because this is not the first, second, or even third alcohol-related traffic case. This is actually her fourth. Now, they go into this with this based on Washington Post is also reporting this. Jordan Kramer is the prosecutor. In the court filing, Jordan says this, that she has had 3 previous alcohol-related traffic cases. Of course, the one that happened in March would have been her fourth. Now, the 3 previous cases are stemming from 2006, to 2011. That is the time frame. Now, interestingly enough, she states this. The alcohol related traffic cases were running from, like I said, 2006 to 2011, which resulted in a guilty verdict for driving while impaired and another for driving under the influence. Now, even though she has those guilty findings, Karen served 0 jail time in her previous offenses. Okay. Now, this is what the prosecutor has to say, and I want to quote this specifically. It says the fact that Ms. Huger has repeatedly been given the benefit of another chance on 3 separate occasions demonstrates that she has not learned anything from her prior arrests. In fact, it appears that she has been emboldened. Now, certainly, if you've been held accountable from a court perspective 3 additional times, you don't want to see this happening a 4th time, especially with the level of access that we all have, as I mentioned, to rideshare or whatever the case may be. Now, she is looking at up to 2 years in prison. It just depends on what is actually handed down. But the prosecutors are not asking for 2 years. The prosecutor is requesting that she be handed a 6-month jail sentence by the judge. Now, of course, Karen's legal team is not going to be on board with this, and they are actually requesting the opposite. To nobody's surprise, they are asking that she serve 0 jail time. And what they're asking is that the court instead focus on the rehabilitation of Karen. They do bring up the fact that Karen was recently in a facility, in a rehab facility. She spent 28 days in that facility. It was in Florida. And they are mentioning that she was there to kind of work on her problems with alcohol abuse, dependency on antidepressants, and then addressing her past trauma of being SA'd when she was in college, which she does talk about in the show. Now, the timing of the rehab stint, you guys, is something that has been a huge topic of conversation, not only online, but also on the reunion, because it is seemingly a little bit beneficial, wanting to kind of mention that to the court when it comes to possible consideration for sentencing. And here goes her legal team mentioning that fact. Now, they said that, since leaving the rehab stint, she's also been participating in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings as well every morning through a coffee group. Now, in regards to the rehab particular stay, this is what the prosecutor has to say to that. And I'm quoting this as well. The state is concerned that the program Ms. Huger did choose to enroll in equates itself to a luxury resort experience, as they added that it offered spa services and meals by a chef. So almost pointing to the fact that they don't necessarily believe that, this rehab facility was taken seriously, or was it really a rehab facility? They're kind of undermining the actual experience that she went through. And you might agree. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments. Now, if you watch the body cam footage, as I mentioned, clearly she was intoxicated, slurred speech, difficulty standing. I watched all of it when she was in the interrogation room. It was very difficult to understand what she was saying. We know that she also decided to skip the reunion, and she sent in like a video talking about the alcohol and the antidepressants. Now, we don't know what her fate is going to be on the show. It hasn't really been talked about a lot. Page Six had a little bit of something that her role could possibly be in jeopardy. We just have to wait and see. Now, do you guys believe that 6 months is fair? Do you think that that is a reasonable amount of time for her to have to spend in jail? And do you think she should be able to continue on The Real Housewives of Potomac? Let's get into it in the comments.